The first to report there is now a suspect in a cold case killing. That case involves the disappearance of 14-year-old Cayce McDaniel. The suspect's name, Finis Ewan Hill. Now, interestingly, we told you about him just last week when he was indicted for crossing state lines to allegedly have sex with a teenager.
That move was intercepted. He was arrested in South Haven after police say he went to a hotel room to meet a woman and her 15-year-old daughter he met online. Well, what he didn't know, he was actually messaging police. As WREG's Bridget Chapman learned, it was all set up in hopes officers would learn more about a role he may have had in a mystery case 22 years ago.
When Brockney Bray heard Finis Ewan Hill was back behind bars, she thought,
thank God, but oh my goodness, I sure hope he hasn't hurt anyone else.
She knows what Hill's capable of. What he did to her in 2003 sent him to prison for 15 years.
I feel glad that I was the one there, really, to be honest with you, to get him off the streets for as long as he was off the streets.
She was in her late 20s at the time at the car wash. It was dark out, and she says she remembers feeling in trouble when another car pulled up beside her.
I felt him walk up, so I turned around and grabbed him on his wrists. And we struggled for a little while.
She offered cash to get him to leave.
He says, I don't want your money. You need to get my car. I said, I'm not getting in your car. He said, I have a gun. I'll blow your brains out. You need to get in my car.
She grabbed her phone and told him she'd call police. Eventually, he agreed to leave and sped away.
I was more aggressive than he was. But he had the gun, and he was the one telling me to get in the car. But I was furious. I didn't get scared till he left. Now then I was terrified.
Thanks to her will to fight, detailed description, and a fingerprint left at the scene, Hill was caught soon after. He already had a violent criminal record with charges ranging from aggravated rape to burglary. What do you think he was planning to do with you then?
Oh, he most definitely would have raped me. I wouldn't doubt that he would have beat me for certain.
Saying she'll never forget looking into his eyes.
There's just no emotion, like nothing. It's just like dead.
Hill pleaded guilty to attempted aggravated kidnapping, aggravated assault, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. While he was in prison, Bray said she heard stories from other women who had similar encounters with him. She's worried more victims are out there.
I just remembered about this young girl that had gone missing that just vanished without a trace.
She's talking about Cayce McDaniel. The 14-year-old disappeared from Milan in 1996 and has never been found. We highlighted the cold case last year after podcaster Brandon Barnett did a series on it, shining new light on the mystery.
What I had to do in sifting through a lot of the rumors, I think that's probably what law enforcement had to do.
Through those rumors, one name kept popping up, Pete Hill, whose real name is Finis Ewan Hill.
Cayce had called him Uncle Pete, so he was kind of around.
Cayce's mother reported to police that she disappeared after a chaperone dropped her off after a church party. Barnett says he's heard from many that on the night of her disappearance, Cayce's mother's boyfriend, and Hill were at a different party in Humboldt.
I had too many varying stories about who was there and when they were there. And I knew I was being lied to.
He says he knew the party was significant, and from what he was told of Hill, so was his presence.
Just an aggressive tendency towards women in general.
He says while putting together his podcast, Searching for Ghosts, Cayce's mother called him one night, seemingly intoxicated. She told him Hill was responsible for Cayce's disappearance. It's a suspicion Milan police are now revealing they've also had.
From day one, he was a suspect. His name had come up about being in certain places where Cayce was and her family. So he's kind of been on the radar of law enforcement all this time.
Hill was released from prison at the beginning of this year after serving time for trying to kidnap Bray. Milan police got permission to start a task force and work with the FBI to see if they could get information from him now that he was out. A city employee created a fake social media account and added Hill.
He was communicating with what he thought was a young single mother coming out of an abusive relationship, but he was actually communicating with one of our police officers.
An affidavit details some of his disturbing messages. One said he loves to rape, chases women down, and beat them until they no longer move. Another admitted to having sex twice with a 14-year-old. And later, he said he wanted to have sex with this made-up woman's 15-year-old daughter.
And some of the things that we saw were quite disturbing, and we wanted to draw this out, try to get more information from him, but some of his actions prompted us to make an arrest a lot quicker than we really wanted to.
They told Hill to meet at a South Haven hotel to have sex with the woman and the teenager. When the 66-year-old arrived, the FBI was waiting for him. They reported finding marijuana, alcohol, sex toys, and condoms in his car.
Since we've reinvigorated this investigation, we've had some other victims come forward that did not want to back then out of fear.
And he thinks more are out there.
At 66 and he's still doing these things, it's just sick. I mean, it's terrible.
As authorities prosecute Hill for these recent charges, they hope anyone with information about his possible connection to Cayce's disappearance will come forward. They've brought in cadaver dogs, drained ponds, and are following up on every tip.
So I have children of my own, and I just can't imagine what some of her family members have gone through all these years. So we want to help them with closure.
Believing someone out there knows something. In Jackson, Bridget Chapman, WREG News Channel 3.
Let's hope someone speaks up soon. Well, we went to Hill's relative's home where he'd been staying before this recent arrest, but we're told no comment. There is a cash reward for information that helps move this investigation forward.